Hello, everyone. This is Jay Dobbins, your host of the Marvel DC Universe Fan Club. We are now at episode 122, and I'll be discussing one topic, which will be my review on Sicario, Day of the Soldado. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this film is because it stars two people, Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin, who are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they're best known for their roles as, of course, the Collector, played by Del Toro, and Thanos, played by Brolin. So, but I've mentioned earlier in earlier episodes that I'm not just going to be discussing Marvel and DC related news, but also anything involving video games, anime, action, martial arts, sci-fi, and horror films. But that depends on which horror film though. So, but also other comic book related material, anything that involves Image Comics, Dark Horse, Valiant, uh, etc. So, but anyway, I want to discuss. I want to do my review on Sicario, Day of the Soldado, of course. So we'll do that right now. So, at the beginning, there's a suicide bombing in a Kansas City grocery store. Killing 15 people. In response, the United States government gives CIA agent Matt Graver, played by Berlin, permission to use extreme measures to combat Mexican drug cartels, who are suspected of transporting Islamic terrorists across the border. Graver and the United States Department of Defense decide the best option is to start a war between the major cartels, and Graver recruits black operative Alejandro Gillick, played by Del Toro, for the mission. So during the film, they kick it. They kick it off by shooting up several SUVs, and of course, one of them involved a high-profile lawyer for a major cartel. Gillick kills that profile lawyer, just like in the pretty much in the trailer. He's like adios, and then it's just how he shoots him is what was like, oh my god, like wow. He pretty much used the whole clip on that high-profile attorney. But yeah, so Gillick kills a high-profile, or the high-profile lawyer of a major cartel. When Graver and his team kidnap Isabella Reyes, the daughter of the kingpin of their rival, in a false flag operation. So, if you haven't seen the matter of fact, I should have said this earlier, and it's my bad on that. Spoiler alert: if you have not seen Sicario, Day of the Soldado, I strongly suggest that you do not listen to the rest of this episode. You've been warned. But yeah, I should have said that earlier though. But anyway, so yes, the kingpin, who was the main person responsible for Gillick's family's death, but he did kill the man who killed his family, but he also wants to go after the kingpin who ordered it. So yeah. So I guess that part's not over yet. But anyway, Graver, Gillick, and their team take Isabella to Texas and stage a rescue with the DEA and local police to make her think she was kidnapped by her father's enemies. Gillick bonds with Isabella, and the team attempt to transport her back to Mexico, planning to leave her in territory controlled by her father's rivals in order to further escalate the conflict. So, however, the Mexican Federal Police escort for their trip back across the border double crosses them and attacks the American vehicles. Graver and his team were forced to kill dozens of corrupt Mexican policemen involved in the ambush. So yeah, that turned into a huge, how can I say it, pickle or setback, pretty much. So, but so Isabella runs away amidst the chaos, and Gillett goes after her alone. The Department of Defense determines that the suicide bombing in Kansas City was actually perpetrated by another group of terrorists that were not smuggled into the United States from the Mexican border by the drug cartels. So, in order to quell tensions with Mexico, the president orders the CIA to abandon the mission and erase all proof of American involvement. In particular, Graver is ordered to have Isabella executed as part of the cover-up. He, in turn, orders Gillett to kill Gillett, to kill Isabel. But Gillett refuses and turns rogue to keep her alive. Graver assembles his team to hunt them both in Mexico. Gillett and Isabella tried to enter the United States disguised as illegal immigrants, as it would be illegal for the CIA to execute Isabella on American territory. So, but Miguel, who was a Mexican teenager, who is new to the gang transporting the immigrants, recognizes Gillett from a previous encounter in the United States. He alerts his boss, and Gillett and Isabella are captured. And so they force Miguel to execute Gillett. Miguel hesitates and unwillingly shoots Gillett in the head, and the gang leaves him for dead. Uncomfortable with his actions, Miguel jumps off their truck, and Graver and his team track the Mexican gang and Isabella with the help of the GPS transmitter that she was wearing, and in her shoe, and kill all the gang members, of course, except for Miguel, which he jumped off the ship. Sorry, he jumped off the truck before they even happened. So yeah, he was a lucky one, pretty much, out of the bunch. So Graver takes pity on the traumatized Isabella and takes her back to the United States to put her in witness protection. So, and meanwhile, Gillett wakes up, finding the bullet went through his jaw, takes one of the gang members' cars, and drives for the border. So, at the end, 1 year later, Miguel is, I guess, in the gang, I guess, he's all tattooed up and everything. He goes into a mall, or a food court or whatever, or store maybe, or I can't remember what it was, but he went out in the back like he would always do, and he surprisingly comes across Gillett, who is pretty much alive and well, all suited up. His jaw is pretty much all sewn up and everything. I guess he's all back to normal, talk normal and everything like that. And he was very surprised that Gillett was there. See, he obviously knew who shot him. So then he tells Gillett tells Miguel to sit down, and he asked him if he wanted to be a Sicario, which Sicario is Spanish for hitman, I believe. And Miguel says yes. So then he's like, well, let's discuss your future. He closes the door, and then the screen just goes to black. And then, of course, you have to roll, the credits and everything like that. Only thing I can say is I'm gonna give Sicario an 80 out of 100. Because it wasn't a whole lot of action, but the good thing about the movie is that, it keeps you guessing, keeps you wondering what was going to happen next. So the movie was pretty unpredictable, and that's what made the movie interesting, of course. So I was very interested because of that. So the writing was okay. I like how the story played out. I mean, unfortunately, uh, well, I'll say it was a little draggy though, but other than that, it was fine. Unfortunately, Emily Blunt, who was in the first Sicario film, wasn't in this movie. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. I mean, I'll still buy it on iTunes. But anyway, that concludes this review. Feel free to visit us, like us on Facebook. We are available on iTunes and the Google Play Music app.